Hey folks, welcome back to Hopped Up Beer Review. Today we're going back to one of my favorite local breweries. We're going to visit Straight to Ale, and we're going to have their Unobtanium. It's out of Huntsville, Alabama. Stick around.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Hopped Up Beer Review, the show where we give you our unprofessional and somewhat biased opinion about the beer we are drinking and reviewing. We are back with another fun one. Thank you for joining us. I've got Andy in his attic, or Andy in the attic, or Andy the Attic, Mr. Attic.
In some attic.
Many names he goes by. Attic tours are still available if you want to get yours. And I've got Jay. I am Ben. What are we drinking today, gentlemen?
Ooh. We're going back to our good friends with Straight to Ale out of Huntsville. You know, one of my favorite locals. We're going to have their Unobtanium. So I know Andy is dying to tell us about it. And let's just
I may
get
not
to
live
drinking.
if I don't just say it in a speedy manner.
We can chat all about it, but let's pour it out.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fragrant just from opening the can. I can tell you that much.
So,
well,
Andrew, would you like to start with cheers?
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Oh, I missed it so much. So, Unobtanium is an old ale, 10.1%, 22 IBUs, and Straight to Ale, bless them, an SRM of 24. Thank you for throwing in the SRM. We need to know that. Ben, throw up your glass so we can see what the 24 is like, since you have the most realistic.
I mean, it's dark.
Well, I mean, it's getting up there. You know, it goes 0 to 40 plus.
So I guess the big question is, where did they measure the SRM? Was that off of the very first Obtanium they did? Because they do this limited or seasonally every year.
They do not indicate whether it's year by year.
Yeah, because this one in particular that we have, if you look at the bottom of your can, this one says 11/18/2022. So this was the Straight to Ale Unobtanium from 2022, the last of that was made. On the bottom of my can, it also says E equals MC hammered.
Yeah,
which I think is just quite comical.
10.1%, go for it. Well, it, you know, and as we've found out with this is an old ale. Before I start all that, it's aged in bourbon barrels for 6 months. So as we found out with other bourbon barrel aged, the color depends on which bourbon barrel it is aged in. So if by what you're telling us, each year there's a new batch of an Unobtanium, so if it's a seasonal beer, they may do it in different bourbon barrels. I say this because Straight to Ale also creates distilled spirits. Do you know for a fact if they do bourbon, do they use their own bourbon barrels?
They make their own whiskey. It's called Whiskey Knot. If you can imagine their IPA's Monkey Knot. So it's a takeoff on that. It's not the greatest in the world, but when I've been through their brewery is in what they call Campus 805. So it's an old elementary school that was converted, and it has the brewery there. They have a speakeasy that you move an old locker bookshelf out of the way and you go in, and they serve mixed drinks there. They have a wine bar. They have another kind of a tap room, and then there's even, I think, a little a Mexican place there called Hops and Guacs. And they're all right there together, a lot of the breweries in Huntsville. But they converted the old gymnasium of the school there into the brewery area. So that's where all the vats are. And you walk through there to get to their patio. And when you're walking through, you can see the canning system, see all the vats, but you can also see the barrels that are aging. And I have seen they're from the big distilleries. They don't use their own, I don't believe, there for that. I've seen ones such as Wild Turkey, or I was trying to think of some of the others I've seen there. At Knob Creek, some of those, I believe.
So I guess they use a different one from another one each year. This one, 2022, did not indicate which bourbon barrel they used. But an old ale in England, it is described as any ale greater than, I guess, I wrote greater than 50%. I think I was tired when I wrote that because I don't understand what I meant by 50%. Or no, excuse me, 5.0%. I forgot the dye in England. Okay. So in England, it can be described as anything as over 5.0%. Again, this one is aged in bourbon barrels for 6 months. The malts it uses are pale malt, black malt, and crystal malts. And it also includes molasses. I can definitely pick up the molasses. So, any clue? Y'all ever heard the word unobtanium before? Or what it means?
I've heard it many times, yes.
Yeah. It could be a little muddle because it's your backyard brewery right there and you've been there. So unobtainium, it means a highly desirable material that is hypothetical, scientifically impossible, extremely rare, costly, or fictional, or has some of these properties in combination, which makes sense when you got the mad. I was going to say mad scientist, but looking at what he's wearing, it's like a mad dentist, the old school dentist.
Yeah. But you have to keep in mind, no, this all plays into their logo and everything else. So the logo with the pitchfork and the takeoff on straight to hell, straight to L, it's just like it's their variant of the devil. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, we had Velvet Evil, which was their coffee raspberry old style ale, which uses the unobtainium as the base for it. So we've already had a little bit of this in the past with that. Now they take a couple other variants. They have one called Illudium, which they use and age in cognac barrels. Usually you can only get that one on draft. I've never actually seen it in a can, but they have a couple other variants that they put into the draft form that you can get. But if you remember on that Velvet Evil can, it looked like a rendition of Elvis with the same character on there.
Go Ben, don't hold back.
It's already kicking in.
Yeah. Yes. So straight to ale. I mean, we've got to have our own playlist of straight to ales. We've done quite a bit. So I can't even remember what our first was.
Could have been Monkey Knot, could have been Velvet Evil.
I don't know if it was Monkey. I don't think it was Monkey Knot.
Maybe Velvet Evil.
Excuse me. So it's a microbrewery, Huntsville, Alabama, founded in 2009 by a couple of local home brewers. They, as we mentioned, they do distilled spirits. They do cider and mead. So Ben might they even add a link to past episodes to describe more about it, or he might not.
They even, in the past, they've had some of the Delta 8 seltzers that a lot of people around Huntsville can't take because the Delta 8 shows up as THC and it would show up on the drug test. But they're also, so they're the second largest brewery. I think we've mentioned that in the state of Alabama. They purchased 2 other breweries to make them that size and have added those to their production line. Then they have gone in with the largest brewery, Good People Brewing, out of Birmingham, which we've done a brewery tour down there, flight tours, and I reviewed several of their beers. But they created what they call the Brewers Co-op. And so less than a half a mile, probably a quarter of a mile from Campus 805, where their main brewery is a place called the Stove House. And it's an old warehouse district area that they converted into like an outdoor area that has a tap room. But there's also a Brewers Co-op there, which is a collaboration between both Good People and Straight to Ale. So you can buy Good People beer or Straight to Ale beer, or any of their brands, because both of them have several others underneath them. And then on top of that, they have beers where their brewers have gotten together and collaborated in that facility and made specialty beers. So they have one of those in Huntsville, like I said, about maybe 400 or 500 yards from their main brewery. And then there's another one actually at a place called City Harbor over in Gunnersville. It's on the Gunnersville Lake. So both all of their locations actually have great food as well. They have what they call Ale's Kitchen at their main tap room. Really unique dishes and good food. So
not always easy to find in a tap room. So. All right. I guess I'm the only one that hasn't had this one before, right? So I guess I get to go first.
You is.
Lucky me. So I was tasting this before you went through some of the things, and one of the things that I noted was that if I think back to when we did the Ghost Train and we had different beers in the bourbon barrels, and I know we mentioned this from time to time, but I think back to that, we had the bourbon barrels that we had there. Some of them gave us kind of more of a chocolatey flavor, and some of them gave us more of a fruity raisin type flavor. I think this one's going to be for me more on the kind of the raisin was kind of what I was thinking. It was more along those lines. So that's kind of a flavor that I pull out. And then you mentioned the molasses. So yeah, that definitely is a big flavor within this one. I think overall it's good. I mean, it is really flavorful. When I think about the bourbon barrel, beers, to me they're hit or miss, because sometimes they're too much one way or not enough. And sometimes they can be too boozy, too much alcohol flavor. Also I kind of prefer the chocolatey over the raisin, but in this case, man, I'll take this all the time. I really like it. I'm going to do an 8 on this one because I think it has a lot of good flavor. 10%, obviously you're not going to sit around and drink, 2, 3, 4 of these, but it's definitely a good beer to have.
Challenge you. 4, drink it.
No.
But come drink some flights with me, Ben.
Let's shotgun this thing, man. Let's do it.
No. I think that overall it's a really good beer. Thanks for grabbing it, Jay. And I think what would be really cool, and I don't think I would survive it, but would be to have this and some of the other variants, kind of lined up.
In a flight pattern like we did the E Defects at Ghost Train. You survived it. You're here to talk.
Yeah, and EDFX is 14. You got to remember that was them taking their oatmeal stout and putting it. This is just an old world ale. So
that's true.
I have actually done that with flights and taken. They had towards the end of COVID, they actually pulled out barrels where they had Illudium, Unobtanium like 2020, Unobtanium 2021, and there's another variant that they have. So I've done a flight of those, and it's essentially the same as drinking one strong beer when you have a flight. You're getting 12 ounces at 10%.
Just do it.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that would be great. So we've got to run that up the line to corporate and get them to approve that expenditure and travel cost. So
they're so tight.
I know. Andy, what do you think?
This beer pleases me. So I've had it before, so I knew what I was expecting. So thank you, Jay, again, for a wonderful contribution to the show. It is great that, it's a little different. You can tell it's not a stout because it doesn't have so much of a roasty flavor, or a coffee flavor, but it's got a dark, a deep, malty, and then the molasses, and okay, that's sweetness, and you get a little bit of booze from the bourbon barrels, but it is not like your Kentucky ale that is just ridiculously bourbon. I very much appreciate what they did with this. And like you said, you can pick up a little kind of raisiny feel, a little fruitiness out of it. I'm very pleased, and I would have more and more. I wish they would distribute to the area. I give it an 8.5.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys hit on the points that I'm going to talk about. Obviously, the raisin, the fruits there. It's not boozy to me. You guys can imagine when you get into some of these, they're dark, roasty, coffee stout type heavy beers. This one I love because it doesn't have coffee too.
Of course.
It's always had a great flavor to me. One of the coolest things was similar to what we did with the Eat Effects, but like I said, during post-COVID, maybe a year or two, where I could line up and they actually had in the brewery, and you could get different year variants of it. And even the bottle shop that I go to, where I've gotten a lot of the stuff for this show, they do a straight to ale taproom takeover, and they'll pull out the kegs because they keep these kegs and from year to year, because they're cellarable, and they'll age them, and so they'll pull them out and they'll put them on the tap, so you'll have multi years and multi variants, and it's fantastic. I if we could do something like that, I'd absolutely love it. It's easy drinking to me, and I'm excited. I think I sent you guys a note a couple of days ago. They just came out with the variant for this year, so I'm going to be seeking that out in the liquor store, and I'll grab some for all of us because I know it's a good one. To me, same as you, Andy, it's an 8.5 all day. Great beer, and it's one that I do seek out if I can find it, and every time it comes out, I will grab some. I think I've got maybe one or two in the fridge, but that's about all I have left, and I'll have to get some from this year's variant, so, and see how it stacks up, because they do change from year to year, but just slightly. Most of theirs are on that track of what you're talking about, Ben, that raisin or that fruity style, which I like. I agree with you. I like the chocolatey one, kind of the one that we had. I remember out of the Eat Effects, we had a chocolate, more of a fruit, and then there was just one that was straight boozy. But this to me is good. So glad we can all partake.
Yeah, it sounds like what you need to start doing is start buying kegs. Just keg and put it aside.
A keg of this.
Keg, put it aside.
Would you tolerate a keg beer of Unobtanium?
But
it's Andy, like over 100 degrees today. And would you be pouring off that keg on your back porch?
But it's cellarable. As long as you can keep it in a refrigerated area, it's fine. You just pull it, you put it on there, you pour off for a day or two, and you take it back off.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to do, we're getting off kind of in a little bit of tangent here, but I'd have to do what I've seen people do is buy like a freezer, they call it a keezer, where they can drop multiple, kegs, sixtels into a freezer and then have taps coming off of that. You'd have to do something like that. I've seen people have, at home, they might have, 7, 8 taps at any given time. So I've only got the one because I'm the only one drinking it. So, but yeah, I think
your kids onto it.
I mean, they're not quite of age, so no. But yeah, I think Jay, you just need to start finding a spot to tuck those kegs away, and then we can do what we're talking about here.
Start tucking, Jay.
Yeah.
That is going to be an 8.3 for the Unobtanium out of Straight to Ale, Huntsville, Alabama. If you see this one, go grab it, give it a shot. Definitely worth the time and the effort to find it if it is in your area, anywhere in your area. I don't know, Jay, what is their distribution like? Is it, I mean, I know they're micro, as Andy said, but is it mostly Northern Alabama?
I think you can cover most of North and Central Alabama. You guys don't see it, but you do see other Huntsville breweries over there.
Well, we've had it in the past in North Mississippi, and there are some restaurants. I know at least one that serves monkey nut.
Yeah.
So,
I would imagine parts of Southern Tennessee as well, just from where we are. But it's not a tremendous distribution. It's unfortunate. Most of the breweries in Alabama, they don't have great distribution channels. So,
well, if you find yourself in any of those areas we mentioned, stop in and see if you can lay your hands on one of these. And a lot of the other straight to ale beers are great. As Andy mentioned, we probably have enough for a playlist now at this point of just straight to ale. So, if I have time, I'll put that together if I remember. So with that, be sure to like. Yeah. Be sure to like, subscribe, cheers, that notification bell. Check us out on all the social medias listed down below. Hey, come say hey in Discord. We would love to have you join our Hopped Up Beer Review Discord chat server and come say hey to the three of us and the others who have joined us. And lastly, we do have some Hopped Up Beer Review merch. If you are interested in that at all, there's a link below for that in the description. Lots of great information out in the description. So definitely check that out.
doubtful.
With that, or don't. Yeah. Andy in the attic and Jay have been. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.